on the lawn who look like they're sound asleep. So Amalia is our next speaker, and she is KarmicKindness, and this is also the person that Diane and Keely recommended to me. And I'll just say, so Diane, you might have seen we were on the news 3 times this week. That's because of Diane. So Diane is Dynamic Publications or Communications. So she came into my life right after Ev died, and also losing him and being the age that I was like, this super sucks because I'm old too, my life is really over. And then I looked at her and I was like, that biatch is hot. she's got a fire, she's got something going on, and I was like, why are you okay? And she goes, Amalia. And then she brought Keely to me, and Keely was telling me that she had suffered loss. I was like, why are you okay? And she's like, Amalia. And I was like, okay, I gotta find out who this Amalia chick is. So I told you what Amalia gave to me the first time that we spoke. You weren't in here. But so it is Amalia who is going to speak to us.
Such a sweet intro. So hi everyone. I'm so happy to see all of you here. Some people who came in, as Holly was saying, from the lawn, maybe taking a little rest, enjoying all of the amazing practitioners here. I'm just in such awe of every one of you that's here. First of all, regardless if you're a practitioner or you're here just enjoying this connection and this space, this beautiful space that Holly and the team that works tirelessly to keep everything going. So today, the subject that we're talking about is understanding relationships through a spiritual lens. And some people might be like, I don't even know what that means, but for some reason I'm here. And what I would like to just poll everyone and see, how many of you are currently in a relationship? Okay. So here's a little perspective I want to give to you. Every single one of you here is in a relationship. You're in a relationship with yourself. You're in a relationship with a higher power. You're in a relationship with your body. You're in a relationship with money. You're in a relationship with each other. You're in a relationship with your children, your parents, your coworkers, your siblings. So relationships affect all of us, regardless if they're intimate partnerships or not. And what I think is so interesting is when I ask this question to people, and if you're married, you're in a relationship. If you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're in a relationship. But we don't often think of being in a relationship with ourselves, which is the pinnacle relationship to have. The one that we take care of in here, so that we can show up in those intimate partnerships and relationships with other people. So how do we get to know ourselves? We hear this all the time, like self-care, self-love, do things for yourself, and that's all great. And you might already know what those things are for you. But what if you don't truly know who you are? Truly, like in here. Because you've been told by society, parents, church, culture, geography, who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. And if you live in the US, I'm assuming a lot of us in this room are from the United States or have been here long enough to understand the dynamics of the US. We're told as women, this is what you do. You have to either become a mom, or maybe you go to college and you get a degree, but then you're going to work for a little while, but then there's the judgment from other women, stay-at-home mom, working mom, whatever that is. And so there's all this stuff, and even for men, I see a few men in the room, like you guys are even told who you have to be. Can't show your emotions. If you get angry, can't do that. If you're sad, hold it in. And so for us to understand who we are and know that it's okay to express our emotions, it's okay to be, like we're here, Defiantly Joyful is the topic, is the vibe. We've all been through trauma and tragedy and grief and things that have created a structure within us that we want to protect ourselves. We want to get through it. You know, how many times we hear that? I just want to get through it. I just want to get to the other side of it. And I'd like to just posit, maybe it's not about getting through it or getting to the other side of it. It's about embracing and accepting where we are. And I think Kurt talked about this earlier. It's about the sacredness of everything that happens. Everything. So I'd like to share a little story with you about, this. For anyone who knows me, I talk about this all the time. We learn from one another. And I feel like this event has been such a beautiful expression of that. The people that have stood up here and talked and shared their stories, so inspiring. The conversations that were had by everyone here today, so inspiring. We've all been learning from each other and expanding and growing and healing this sense of community, which is so important. So, for me, as some of you may know from last night, I lived in Northern Virginia for about 26 years. And I was married. I had 4 amazing kids, a grandchild as well. And it was a beautiful, beautiful life until it wasn't. And my husband of 25 years, around the 22, 23-year mark, we were good. Okay, we're busy. Lives, children, jobs, going. And there was a period of time where I started my business and I started to focus a little less on everyone else. It wasn't about everyone else all of a sudden, it was about me. And I was taking time to learn about myself. And at that time too, I had a very extensive jaw surgery. It was a 9-hour jaw surgery. I was in the hospital for 4 days. And I was unable to speak because my mouth was wired shut for 3 months. Ate through a syringe. It was torture, absolute torture. For people who know me know I love to talk. So this was like unbelievably difficult. And so I would type things and then I would want to show it to everyone, like to respond, and they were long since moved on from that topic of conversation. And it was maddening to me. But what it forced me to do was to get quiet and still and reflect on myself, what I wanted, what wasn't working in my life, what wasn't feeling nurturing, was I really living the life that I truly came here to live? And I realized I could make some small changes, not huge changes, but small changes. And when I did that, what happened was that my husband and I were not connecting in the same way that we were because I wasn't so focused on ensuring that he had what he needed. I wasn't always available for everyone in my family at their every whim and beck and call. I was starting to pay attention to what I wanted to do, making choices based on what made me feel good. And my family did not love it. So over time, this created a bit of an epiphany within our relationship. And that was a prime opportunity for someone else to step into that epiphany. And my husband embraced that opportunity. And so I actually wrote a book called Lead to Me, the story of love, loss, and liberation, that tells more of this story and what I learned from that period of time. Because it was literally, some of you may be familiar with the saying, dark night of the soul. And a dark night of the soul is a time period in your life where you literally feel like the world is caving in on you. You cannot take any more. And so at this point, I found out my husband's having an affair. I'm doing my best to get this business that I just started going. Our oldest son had a relationship that was causing some friction within the family, so he distanced himself, which was causing a lot of tension within our familial unit. And my father was dying. So to say this was a challenging time would be a understatement. And that to me is the dark night of the soul. And you don't have to have that many things caving in on you to have a dark night of the soul. And I was actually talking to Ms. Catherine earlier. We were talking about this. It's like there are constant whispers. There are constant 2x4s that are coming and smacking you in the head, letting you know you are not living your life to the highest possible potential that you can. So, are you listening to the whispers? Are you listening to the shouts? Is the 2x4 coming and smacking you in the head? I joke that there's a 5-story building behind me, and the grand piano was falling out of the window on my head, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I need to do something. Maybe I need to make some changes. And that pretty much when my father died, and I believe someone was talking about this earlier with Reiki and the energy that we can all experience. And Reiki, if you tune in for Reiki too, it's like there's an energy that we can all open up to, and I believe that you don't necessarily need an entertainment for is how open are you? How well do you know yourself? How curious are you about learning more about yourself? I'll share a quick story about Reiki. So I had done my training. My father was unconscious. My mom was taking care of him. He had Alzheimer's, and she'd been taking care of him for about 2 years by herself. And she had a hospital bed set up in their bedroom. She removed their bed. She was sleeping on a bed next to him and was taking care of him 24/7. And we all came in town. So they live in Arizona, so my sister and I came in town. My brother, my sister that lived locally were there. We were all with him. And my mom was so worried about him being in pain. And I was like, well, let me see if I'll do a body scan and I'll see if he's in pain. And at this point, this is the first time I've ever practiced Reiki, and I practiced on my father, transitioning to spirit. And I thought, well, there's a reason that I'm here in this moment. And I can give my mom this gift of solace, knowing that he's not in pain, which he wasn't. And so I'm in the room and I'm doing my thing, and my sister walked in to get something. And I just didn't really think much of it and left. After I was done, she left. And she said, what was going on? I said, what do you mean? She goes, I literally could not breathe. I had to get out of that room immediately. She's like, I don't know what you were doing. She's like, that was really a lot. And I was like, well, go back in there and tell me if you feel anything now. And she went back in, she's like, no, it's normal. And in that moment, I knew there was some force greater than me that was coming through me, because I was truly allowing myself to open up fully to be of service, to be in this place of love for my mom, for my dad, for my siblings, for every one of us in that house who were watching our father go. And beautifully, we were all with him, and we all had our hands on his body somewhere. And I had my hand on his knee, and my sister had her hand on my hand, and my other sister had her hand on my sister's hand. So it was like this whole sandwich on my dad's knee. And I literally felt him leave, and it was this, I can't even describe how odd it was. It's like putting your hand in a freezer, but it's like coming from the palm of your hand. It shot up my arm and out, but only on my arm. I didn't feel it anywhere else. And my sisters thought that it was my dad, because his body was already kind of cold. I mean, because his blood pressure was very, very low. And his heart kept stopping, starting. And they thought my hand, because it was so cold, was my dad, but it was his spirit. And so how many of you have ever had the chills? Like something happens, you're like, ooh. That is spirit. That is divine energy coming through you. And whenever you're in a situation where you feel very cold, but it doesn't make sense, like, what's going on here? Like, I shouldn't be cold. Like right now, I can feel there's some coolness in my body, which alerts me there's divine energy here. There's divine coming in. So you might, I don't know how many of you have had any sort of, gone to a workshop where they are doing any sort of energy work. And you'll notice, like if you ever see it on YouTube, or if you go to any workshops, there's always blankets. People are always like bundled up, because when you're in that space of receiving, it's this coolness. There's something about it that really just brings you into a state of peace and contentment. And you feel like, I can just take a breath. So all of those things were going on in my life, and I ultimately decided that I needed to make some decisions, make some changes based on where I wanted to go in my life. And what I ended up doing in that process was discovering the right people at the right time with just what I needed to learn about myself. And some of those things may be things that I'm sure everyone here knows what their sun sign is in astrology. You know, when you were born and what that is, you know, Virgo, Leo, Capricorn, whatever. But there's so much more to it. And then there's other spiritual sciences, I call astrology a spiritual science, like human design. How many of you have heard of human design? A few, yeah, a few people. And what about the gene keys? Couple? Yeah, not that many. I know, yeah. And then galactic astrology. So we're taking traditional astrology, and we're like really launching it out into the cosmos, because there is all this information that's available to us to help us see who we are. So during this period of time where I'm really lost, I don't know what to do. I've been a mom and a wife for as long as I can remember. And now it was like, oh, who is Amalia? What does Amalia want? How do I figure this out? Like, I'm very logical, I'm very research-based. And I'm also woo-woo, as I would say, you know? So I want to back up kind of the intuitive feelings with some places where I was actually the same thing Catherine and I were talking about earlier. When I could say to you, I could give you kind of an energetic reading of who you are. But you're gonna be like, yeah, whatever, Molly, I'm like, yeah. But if I say, okay, this is what I'm reading, and here I'm gonna show you in this chart that you can look up anywhere online, and it's gonna say the same thing, are you more likely to believe that? Yeah. So this is what is available to all of us. This is how we understand relationships. So I'm in this marriage with infidelity. You can imagine all of the thoughts running through my head, my opinions about what was happening, my opinions about him, the MFer that he was, and then da-da-da-da-da. And then I realized, no, this is so perfect, because if that didn't happen, I would have stayed right where I was. I would not have become the person that I was. I would not have moved from this place that I lived for 25 years to Florida. I would not have met the soul love of my life in Florida. Had all of those things not happen, and it literally pushed me into a space that was so freaking uncomfortable, but so exactly where I needed to be. So for each one of you here, I want to just offer a few little tidbits that you can utilize in your day-to-day life. And I have behind me some flower cards, okay? And there's a company that I work with. I'm not affiliated with them. I get no money or anything from them. I just love their products so much. And she has researched these flowers and the energetic components of the flowers, the spiritual meaning behind the flowers, to a degree that is mind-boggling to me, and has created this deck here, where we're going to do a fun little practice of something called number mapping. Has anyone experienced number mapping before? No? Yay! So great. Okay. So number mapping essentially is when we are now going to access our subconscious mind and not our conscious mind. Our conscious mind is like the ego wanting to protect us, or the stories that we make up, or the thoughts that we think about ourselves, about other people, our opinions, our judgments, all that stuff. We're going to bypass that completely, and each of us is going to come, where I'm going to give you instructions here in a second, but what the purpose of this is that each one has some flower cards here on the counter that I chose before we started today. Actually, I didn't choose them. I basically shuffled, and cards came out, and I knew they were exactly for everyone here. What we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick little exercise where I'm going to give you some guidance. You're going to pick a number, and then I'm going to share with you what the flower is and what the card shares with you as far as energy, guidance, information. It could be like a little bit of like healing medicine for you. That a little nugget of information, and I've got lots of nuggets today. A little nugget of information that you can take with you. Before we do that, I'm going to be I'm excited. Before we do that, I'm going to actually ask you all to do something counterintuitive to today, and probably where no one has ever asked you to do this before. I'm going to ask you to get your phone out. Get your phone out. And the reason I'm asking you to get your phone out is twofold. One, today has been such a tremendous day of storytelling, story sharing, energy, creativity, connection, gathering, being in nature. Like, so much has come at us today. And so what I have found in my experience of going to workshops and other different events is that we have all these moments, like how many times we were like, oh my gosh, or tears came, or laughter, or oh my God, I totally get that, I'm right there with you. But then we go into our lives, like you get in your car and you drive away, and you're like, that was really great, but what was all of it? Like, what did I actually take away, and how can I integrate that? That's the biggest thing. How do you integrate the little nuggets, those moments that you get goosebumps all over, into your day-to-day life to actually make change? I found this to be a really great way. Is to have, now open up your email app, whatever you use, and we're going to take just a moment or two to allow you to jot down a couple of insights, a couple takeaways, whatever first thoughts come to your mind. I want you to put them in your phone right now in an email. Give you another few seconds. You can even write just some key words so it'll jog your memory later. And just in case your finger hits it and it closes and it doesn't save or whatever, I want you to put in the to column your name, like put your email in there, because this bad boy's coming back to you. All right, so keep that available because we're going to be using that again in a bit, but I just wanted you to kind of lay the foundation in that email. And the reason we're doing this, another reason we're doing this is I'm all about magic. The magic in the world, not like tricks, but just those synchronicities that happen in our lives that we're like, wow, like, holy cow, how did that even happen? I feel like this entire event was magic. All the people that showed up and came together, and you all, so last minute probably heard about this. I mean, and you're part of this, it's magical. And when we say things, when we write things, that's creating, that's magic right there. In the writing, in the speaking. It's like almost like a magic spell. Like I don't know if any of you as a kid wanted to abracadabra and magic wand and just make magic happen, or who watched Bewitched? Oh my god, I freaking love Bewitched. That was like the best show. I wanted to be Elizabeth Montgomery so much. Samantha, wiggle her nose. We have the ability to do that. And we don't have to do that nose wiggle thing. We can literally tune into our heart, our belly, drop out of here into here. And that was always hard for me, to be able to get out of my mind and into my heart. And I'm going to share with you a little trick that has worked really well for me over the years. Is I imagine that my mind has eyes. So like you know what it feels like to look through your eyes. Now I close my eyes and I imagine that they're coming down into my heart. And I'm now looking at the room from my chest, through my heart. And there's something that shifts. Like maybe let's give it a try if you guys are getting. So just look out your eyes and kind of take in the room. And then close your eyes, if that feels comfortable to you. And imagine they're dropping down, and now you're viewing the room from your heart, through your heart. There's like a slight shift in perception. There's a slight shift in your energy. There's a slight shift in how you're engaging with the room. How many of you were feeling this room in a different way when your eyes were open? Yeah. It's so simple. You can open your eyes now. Thank you for playing. It's so simple. And so it's like as simple as closing your eyes or imagining you're looking from here, taking a deep breath, a gentle exhale, and resets you. Very, very quickly. Very quickly. So when we write these things out, we're literally creating. Okay? And so we're going to do this fun number mapping. We're going to be jotting some more things down. And I want you to think about it in terms of creation. What you're going to write is literally happening. It's not going to happen. It is happening. It's present, moment, change, transformation, creation, magic. And when you say words, that's even more powerful. If you start a statement with I am sad, I am angry, I am irritated, I am not abundant, I don't have. Anytime you say things like that, you're literally creating that reality for yourself. And I don't believe in the fake it till you make it really, but if in those moments you do feel joy, you do feel your heart full, you say, I am so grateful, I feel incredibly filled up. I am happy. I'm at peace. I'm content. I am ready to bring in the magic. You are declaring that. You are calling that in. You are each the magician of your own life, and you can create the magic for yourself. When you're in a state of despair, and you say, I am joyful, is that going to work? No, it's not going to work because you're not joyful. And that's okay, because whatever you're going through is a way of alchemizing, changing the chemistry of your body so that you can release that, and then you can create more space for joy, more space for abundance, more space for connection to yourself, ultimately, then others. So, I'm using this, it's called the Flower Evolution deck by Lotuswei. There's over at the tent by the tasting room, there's a QR code where there's some information you can get learn more about me, what I'm doing. Flowers, animals, crystals, they're all part of my medicine chest, and they're easily accessible for each of you too. The wisdom from just the flowers is incredible. It's magical. So when I shuffled the deck earlier, I basically just said, Defiantly Joyful, give us guidance. Defiantly Joyful, what do we need to know? Defiantly Joyful, Defiantly Joyful, Defiantly Joyful. I'm getting out of the way. I'm not putting anything on it. And 5 cards emerged. I am going to invite you again to close your eyes or look down at the floor, just like taking a breath or two. And whatever the reason you came here, whatever brought you here, kind of bring that into your mind's eye, into your awareness. And just be with that. See if you can feel that, whatever it is. And then I want you to imagine in front of you a screen, like a movie projector screen comes down. And you're looking at this screen. It's white, blank. And I want you to imagine, you know those numbers that would come up, like the countdown for the movie? There's going to be a number between 1 and 5 that flashes for you. Trust whatever that first number is. Don't overthink it. Don't second guess it. Remember that number. Actually, write the number in your phone once you get it. Okay, everybody have their number? Okay, who had number 1? Anybody? 1? Okay. So 1 is Brugmansia. So whenever I'm reading the card for you, I'd like for you to pay attention to your body. Anytime you get a twinge of like, oh yeah, I got that, yeah, that makes total sense. Take a note. Anytime you feel resistance, like, no way, and you're literally like in your mind going, no, that's not it, no, but there's a charge behind it, you also need to write that down, because the resistance is actually giving you information. There's something that you don't want to see, there's something you don't want to look at, there's something you don't want to deal with, but there's some truth. If there's nothing, like you're like, shrug, that's not a message for you. But your body is going to give you clues. Your body is going to guide you exactly where you need to go. So Brugmansia, and the other thing too is, even though you may not have chosen this one, all of these cards are for everyone. So there may be something in this for you, even though you didn't choose this card. So Brugmansia activates ease. The message is to let go. How many of you probably let go of something. I know I could let go of some things. Yeah. But you didn't choose number one, but here it is. It magnifies the ability to ask for help. Create a community of support. I swear I'm not making this up. Assimilation of change and growth, and the ability to surrender to vulnerability. We talk about vulnerability today. Okay, again, this, to me, I think epitomizes today. This is just the first card. And I did not pick these out of the deck. It probably would have been more powerful for me to shuffle in front of you, you can see. I did not choose these. All right, what about number two? What about number two? Okay, big number twos. Hong Kong orchid. This is one of my favorite flowers. The message for this flower is it activates self-acceptance. Self-acceptance. And the message is express yourself. So those people, those guys or gals that had this, express yourself. Whatever the wisdom is that you carry, share it. It's so part of why you're here. It magnifies this full expression of who you are, feeling comfortable with yourself. Didn't we start talking about that at the beginning? Feeling that sense of comfort with yourself. Self-love and appreciation. So this is for all of us, remember, every single one of us here. So anything that jumps out at you for that, jot it down. What's important for you? What did you feel? All right, what about number three? Well, that's a number three. That's nice. Pink primrose. I love this flower too. This is actually in one of the blends, and it's called Joy Juice, which I think is just such a cool name, Joy Juice. This activates rapid growth. The message is make it effortless. Effortless. Magnifies easeful ideas and action. That's the key too. We can have all these ideas, but if we don't take action, we're not really actually moving. I'm saying this to myself also. Fearless readiness, a sense of being called to action. Creativity, thinking outside the box, and innovation. So for those of you who had three, what are you here to innovate? What are you here to take action on that's outside the box? And this comes back to knowing yourself. Because if you know who you are and you're tuned into that spark that's within you, and you have maybe used the spiritual sciences to get to know who you are better instead of what everyone thinks you need to be, then you can go outside the box that's been created for you and live life, engage with life differently. All right, for my number fours. Okay, for number fours, we've got the date palm flower. This is a great one. This is such a grounding flower. It's for those of us who are in our head a lot, like really just get lost in the thoughts, and go from like one extreme to the other. So this is like the freedom from extremes, shifting the paradigm of your life, shifting the paradigm of your experience. It magnifies, it's kind of a boundary card in a way, where you don't want to be too tight in your life, but you also don't want to be too loose. It's like having that balance, that beautiful balance. Moment to moment awareness without fear, without worry, or daydreaming in a way that takes you out of your present moment experience. I mean, I think daydreaming is great. That's how I feel like we actually innovate. That's how we create. But if we spend too much time in that space, we're not taking action, we're not doing anything. That's not really helpful. And this is also the balance between linear and non-linear thinking. What that means is like when we think that we'll take this step forward and then this thing is going to happen, when really we might have to go over here, experience, and then go over here, experience, and then go, oh, wait a minute, can we do it here? It's like being able to experience the logical and the felt in the moment and take action from that place, versus making thought decisions because that feels safer. Like and because the other thing is, our minds are not designed to make decisions. When I learned that, I was blown away. Because I'm all about my mind, and my lists in my head, and my like little categories and all that. And I realized, wait a minute, The mind is actually, and actually I didn't realize this through my own experience at first. It was told to me, and I actually questioned it. I was like, I don't think so. I'm going to experiment in my life. And I realized that my mind is so good at organizing, but it's not good at making decisions. The only place that any of us get information to make decisions is from our body through the lens of our experience. So if we don't know who we are, we're going to be feeling things through what we know is familiar from our childhood, from our parents, from society, instead of what is true for us. That's where learning about ourselves really helps. Okay, last part, the number 5s. Sheila, you're just killing me over there. She's like a little girl on the edge of her seat, like, I'm ready, let's go. Nasturtium. This activates spontaneity, and the message is spice up your life. So number 5s, it's time to spice it up. This magnifies joy, contentment, spontaneity, variety, being in the right place at the right time. And I love each of these cards. Like, I'm going to hold them all up for each of you to see.
What was the name of the number 5 card?
Nasturtium. Yep, nasturtium. And I'm going to leave them up here, so at the end of the talk today, you can come up and take pictures if you like. But like, all right, I can't hold all of them, but you can see like there's a lot of color in these flowers. It's like such a broad spectrum of information and energy. Because each one of these flowers has a different energy. There's more information written on these cards that I would love for you to, come and take a look at the flower themselves. And the words on the cards that give you a little bit more information. Does everyone feel like the card that came up for you, I guess show me with hands, how many people feel like the card that came up for you is fitting in your life in some way? Pretty much everybody. That to me is magic. That is magic. That is how we are able to experience relationships through a spiritual lens. Connecting with some energies and force outside that we can't see, but somehow the information that we need, each of us individually, is able to tap into. You are all magicians because you each got a message from the number that you chose. Your ego was out of the way. You were literally tuned in, tapped into your subconscious, and your subconscious, your unconscious are what guides us in every single moment. That's where we flow. That's where that ease is in those moments when we get the fear, the worry, the hand wringing, the oh my God, out of the way, and we actually connect with something that is here to support us constantly. So coming back to those moments of challenge, coming back to the story that I shared about my marriage and my son and my father, in that time period, I was like, the universe is fucking me over right now. Like, this is not okay. And then when I look back later, I realized, what a gift. What a gift it was in the challenge. And the only time that I really felt like I was able to embody that, because I wanted to, was when I fully accepted everything that happened. And I understood how the energy was flowing between my not-anymore husband and myself. When I understood how the energy between my son and I was connecting, and how I could show up differently. So how many times in your life have you been in an experience where somebody did you wrong? Like you really felt like, I'm right, they're wrong, it's their fault, I'm innocent, I've done nothing to deserve this. Pretty much everyone at some point in your life? Yeah. The kind of crazy fact is that whenever we are looking outside of ourselves to blame, doesn't matter what it is, and some people will debate me on this and I'm happy to talk to you about it after, there is always a reason why you are feeling emotionally charged or activated that has nothing to do with that person. Nothing. It wouldn't affect you if there wasn't a wound in you already that just got pushed on, like a bruise. Got a bruise on your leg, somebody goes, you're like, oh! If it wasn't already there, that wouldn't hurt. If it's there and it hurts, there's a reason. And I feel like this world can be such a peaceful, beautiful, loving, compassionate, kind. I'm all about kindness. KarmicKindness is my business name, for heaven's sakes. A kind place if we recognize that that person in front of us that has thoroughly pissed us off or broken our heart is actually showing up for us so that we can love ourselves better, get to know ourselves better, and heal those wounds that will ultimately make our life easier. And I would also like to share, potentially, help your children, your parents, that ripple effect in both directions. Both directions. And I can tell you, that may seem a little out there for some of you. I see some people nodding and some people staring at you like, I don't know. When I moved to Florida, it was one of the hardest decisions I have ever made. Because I did not want to leave my kids. And they were older, but they were still my babies. And I didn't want to leave them. And I didn't want to leave the life that I built for over 25 years, relocate to another state where I knew maybe 2 people. But the universe kept showing up and blocking every single thing that I would try to do to stay in Virginia. I tried to buy a house. Nope. I tried to rent a place. Nope. I tried to rent a room. Nope. I was going to stay with friends. Well, then that fell through. I mean, it literally was just like one thing after another. And then I realized, I'm not supposed to be here. But I want to be here. So I was fighting this universal force energy that's telling me, you need to go here. And I'm like, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But I went. And that absolutely changed my life. And from that place, I started to heal. I had to move away from the pain. I needed to move away from what was going on and just have a change of scenery, a change of energy. And when I was able to do that, I was healing. And when I was starting to heal, without being in physical proximity to my children or my family, my parents, their lives started to shift. Things started to open up for them in ways that they weren't before. They were having epiphanies about things that happened in their lives that there was no reason for other than it was connected to work I was doing without telling them. And so I know it makes a difference, and I know it makes a difference in both directions. I also have the gift of being able to connect with the other side and talk to family members in spirit. And I feel so blessed, and each of you also has that ability, by the way, to be able to do that because they have guided me and said, go here, do that, see this person, red flag. And when I listen, when I follow this beautiful divine wisdom that is coming from my ancestors, everything just kind of opens up. It's so easy. So if you think about this for a second, how much energy do we spend trying to control, vice grip the steering wheel of our lives? We know better. We know where we want to go. When really, we do. And it's important to have a focus, like putting in your GPS, and this is where I'd like to go. But yet, then you just kind of follow the GPS, and you just trust it's leading you where you need to go, and you're going to get there. We trust that. Well, we have an IGS. We have an internal guidance system that if we get to know ourselves, again, through these spiritual lenses and other simple strategies, then we can then flow through life, because guess what? The universe is telling us exactly where to go, exactly what to do, exactly who to talk to, who to be with, where to move, and then things just start to open up. Is it easy? Not necessarily, but it's simple. And the more you practice, the more you trust yourself, the more you listen to yourself, the smoother things flow, the easier things flow. And you will one day look at your life and go, oh my gosh, how on earth did I get here? This is so freaking cool. I just watched Incredibles movie with my kids a couple nights ago, doing a little throwback movie, and there was I don't know if any of you saw this movie where there's like the little kid on like the big wheel thing, and he's looking at Mr. Incredible, and Mr. Incredible lifts a car over his head, and then he puts it down, and the kid's like, that was incredible! Do it again, do it again. And it's like, that's how your life can feel like. That's literally what it's like. So, you jotted down your little notes. I don't know how we're doing on time. Are we doing on time?
4:17.
Okay. You jot down some notes. So now I would like you to just take a moment, based on everything that I said, which I know is a lot. One sentence of creation. One sentence. I am. Spell casting right here. I am, fill in the blank. And feel it. Connect to it. And if you're having trouble, just close your eyes and take a breath. Imagine a feeling that you would love to have in your life, and what actions connect to that if you're having trouble getting your mind on the statement. And then once you've done that, for those who are tech savvy, email savvy, first of all, I would like for you to end it with I love you and your name. So we all could use a little more love of self. And then if you're able to schedule the sending of the email, okay? If you can't, that's okay, just send it. But if you can, wait and schedule this email within the next week. Pick a day. And then schedule it for that time. And the reason I'm offering that as an option is because how fun will it be in a day or two to receive an email from yourself with all the magic and the fun of today in that email? I kind of wish I had my phone. So I could do it myself. Maybe I'll do it after. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time at the end to allow you guys to ask any questions about what I shared, because some of this may be very familiar to you, and for some of you this may be totally foreign, and you're like, hey, can you go back to the beginning when you said blah, 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 so I can understand what's going on? Any questions about energy, about yourself, about astrology, gene keys, human design? Yes?
The name of your book.
We to me. We. So as in going from a couple, we, to me. Coming back to
Thank you.
myself. Yeah. It's not out yet. I was hoping I would have it available. A couple little glitches, but it'll be out by the end of the year. So, yeah, I'm happy to help. I'll put I have a QR code if you want to keep in touch. That would be great. I'll put that out here in a minute. One thing I wanted to say about human design. The one thing about human design that I really, really love is that it helps with decision making. It helps us understand how we are designed to make decisions. For most of us, that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks in our lives is, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. And there are some people that the truth is in the now. Like in that moment, somebody says, do you want to go to dinner? And you're like, yeah, I do. That's true. For somebody else though, they say yes. But then they need to wait a few days, and then they realize, actually, no, I don't want to. But now they feel like they're trapped, because I already said yes, and now I can't say no, because I'm going to let that person down, and I need to be reliable and stay by my word. So it's, when you know how you operate and how you're designed, instead of saying yes in the moment, you can ask, when do you need to know? And you can give yourself a few days to make that decision, and then respond to the person. And you're still in integrity, you're not letting that person down, you're allowing that connection, but without you coming away feeling like, oh, dang, that's not really what I was wanting to do. I did then, but I don't now. Some people have to wait an entire moon cycle, 28 days, before they can actually make a decision. I feel for those folks. They're not very many, but that, can you imagine, like somebody asking you a question and really to get the truth takes you 28 days? I mean, how many friends are you gonna have, really? So, but it's like you learn to get to know yourself, and then you can navigate life a little more easily. Did did you have a question?
Yeah. So when Holly introduced you, you know, she was saying her and other people were good because of you. So I'm curious, if someone comes to you, how do you help?
Thank you. That's a great question. And that's one that I had trouble answering a lot of times. So basically, people come to me typically when they're in transition of some sort. There has been a loss. I have a lot of clients who have family members or people close to them who have transitioned to spirit, and they're really trying to find a way through it all. And I take a look at you through all of these lenses that I talked about. So soul contract is a vibrational analysis of your date of birth, and it is unbelievably accurate to your life experience. And so we look at that. And then I'll look at your astrology, your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth. And I use that information for human design, for gene keys, for galactic astrology. And then that's another lens. So some people really connect to astrology. So when we talk about their astrological makeup, they feel a connection to that. Some people are like, kind of lukewarm on that, but then when I share soul contract, I'm like, oh yeah. What I love is I look at all of the pieces, and when I in my mind, I'm overlaying all those pieces, things jump out at me. And those little things that jump out at me typically are exactly the salve that a person needs in the moment. I think what makes me different is that, and I have a number of clients in this room today who can probably tell you, that I give my clients soul work. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But with that soul work, I'm giving actionable steps to take between sessions that relate to your day-to-day life. So it's not like an amorphous, do this broad thing. It's, okay, you're having an issue with a coworker. This is how you're gonna navigate that based on a transit that might be happening. So we also have like all this cosmic energy. There's solar flares, there's planetary shifts. Most of you probably heard of Mercury retrograde. Everyone's like complaining about Mercury retrograde. We're in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde now. Communication issues, travel delays, tech problems, all those things come up. So when we have transits, they're affecting everyone, but you yourself might have a really challenging transit that is giving you, that's offering challenge or tension in your life in order to move you through something that you just have been like holding firm, like I'm not moving. And that pushes you to do that, but you don't know unless you know what's going on, cosmically, energetically. So, you know, I feel like with the work that I do, I'm helping you get to know yourself because you already know it. I'm just laying it out there for you on a silver platter, then you get to play with it. And you get to experience yourself in a different way. And then we look at the transits and the different energies at play. Sometimes we'll do some hypnotherapy because you really have a strong conscious mind that's really determined to hold on, moving through that. Maybe energy work. You know, I love cards. You know, oracle cards, tarot cards, flower cards, animals. Animals are always great messengers. Animals are filled with medicine for us. Walk around here. Just pay attention to the animals you see, they have a message for you. And as crazy as it sounds, talk to the animal. Talk to the animal and just say, hi little ant. What do you have to tell me? What do you know about ants? First thing that pops into your mind is probably a message. Community. Sometimes going underground, going within. There's always, always support. Always. Even in the darkest of times, even in the deepest challenges, there's always support, and there's always joy if you know where to look. Always. Any other questions?
What is your Instagram page?
KarmicKindness. I'll put my info up here so you guys can do that picture. Yes.
Amalia, I'm just curious because you were saying that you were getting the signs like you couldn't rent a room, you couldn't get an apartment, and you made that move to Florida. Was there ever a tipping point once you were in Florida, or like a aha or a sense of relief that you'd actually made the, you know, you were having all these no's here, but when you got there after time, was there like a yes that came to you and you were like, okay, this is all great?
I don't think there was like a moment. It was multiple moments in my life. And the other thing too is I moved right before COVID. So I moved from a place that's very familiar to a place that's not as familiar, and I was now in Florida all by myself. And in my condo alone. I was like, well, this sucks. Like, this is not what I was thinking was gonna happen. But it was really awesome. Like, I actually am probably one of the minority of people who enjoyed, other than maybe Holly, that enjoyed that time to myself. I was able to actually spend time with me. I was on Instagram every single day. I'm not a big social media person, as you'll probably see if you follow me on social, although I'm getting much better at it. But I was on every single day because I felt like I wanted connection. And then people would message me and say, I loved your video, or what you said was so perfect, or thank you for that share, or whatever it was. And that gave me the fuel to keep going, because sometimes you're talking to the air, you know, like who's actually listening? And that really felt good. And so that was one piece. And then I think as life started to open up, and I was able to like get out and engage with people in my community a bit more, I just felt this sense of I'm right where I need to be. It was just this contentment. There was still a little of like, ooh, it's unfamiliar. And I think that's the other piece of this too, is like, even if you feel fear, even if you're scared, if there's the slightest pull forward for you, even if you're like, oh my God, you've got butterflies in your tummy, that's still a yes to go forward. The only reason you feel like that is it's unfamiliar. Our mind is wired to move towards the familiar and away from the unfamiliar. It's just a survival mechanism, but it's not the truth of our experience. A small pull, even with butterflies, pay attention to that. That is guiding you. It's almost like there's this gentle hand behind your back. It's like, that's okay, it's okay. My hand's here, I got you, you're not gonna fall. Just take that step. And that's when things can really open up. Did that answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
What would you say is like the first step that you do to like start trusting yourself and learning about yourself?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to research and understanding. So I always say, book a session. If it's not with me, somebody that can help you really see yourself through the true lens of your soul and not through the lens of your physical experience. And then, but you know, just for yourself, it's like pay attention to the feelings that you have, like when you feel any sense of heightened emotion, when you feel joy, what are you doing? Take note of it. When you feel angry, like something happens, like what's going on? And it could be something simple like there's a food that you're eating that's really not supportive for you. It could be a place that you're going that it's like habitual, you just keep going to that one place, but yet it's really not supportive for you. It's not actually who you are, but you felt like you needed to go there for some reason. Just pay attention to those little signs as they're the simplest thing, and the more you do that, and the more you see how your life starts to open up, that's when you build that trust muscle with yourself. And then you're able to actually move forward in a place of like, trust myself, I know it's gonna be okay. Even if it's not in the moment okay, even if some challenge or something comes up for you that feels really uncomfortable, know that there's a reason that it's uncomfortable, because there's some piece of information or healing that's gonna take place in the discomfort, and then you're on the other side like, wow, that was pretty cool. Didn't enjoy it at the time, but now I see why it happened and why. Does that feel like some things you can chew on for a little while? Yeah.
I just want to share a follow-up to this. I had the gift of, we had 6 months in sessions together. And then one of the first things Amalia told me to do is I was coming out of the divorce and trying to figure out who I am. And she said, make a joy list. And I was like, what's that? Like, I had no idea what brought me joy. And it took me a long time, 10 things, Jill, you got it. It took me a long time to make that list. But I still go back to it, and I still, so many things opened up. Once I tuned into, there is joy out there for me, what's, making my soul and heart content. Once I tuned into that, it was like the magic started to happen.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That wasn't on the top of my mind. That's a really easy thing to do. Create a joy list. And I always said too, like it's like actions that you can take in your life that are uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable, the better, because it's really getting you outside of your comfort zone when you can just like really open up. And expand and see where your life.
Do it by yourself, is what you said.
Well, that was one for, yeah, it was a big one for you. Yeah. Don't surround yourself with people distraction. Go into a situation on your own and actually get to know yourself and be uncomfortable. It's hard to do things by yourself, especially, things outside of your normal routine. So, anyway, I think it's time. I don't want to hold up the process, but I'm happy to answer any other questions. I'm going to put a little paper here if you're interested in connecting. And I send out bi-monthly emails that tell you a little bit about the energy and share events and different things that are coming up. Oh, big important one. I have a special that I don't ever offer, an introductory session for a special price for folks here. You just have to sign up with your email, and then you get a link to sign up for an introductory session. So thank you all so much for